We're now in open session. We need a motion for item 6.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Copeland. Take a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. All right. We're going to consider a resolution authorizing the Director of Utilities or his designee to execute a lease located at 5618 FM 40, Lubbock, Texas. Kayla, I guess, Allman, and Alan Pitts, Lesser, the City of Lubbock. The city will open this up for discussion.
Yeah, the purpose for having this lease is we've got a number of poles stored out there already. We had a contractor that had the lease previously, and that lease is expired. The contractor will be ceasing work for us in the near future. We didn't want to have to relocate the large number of poles and we get out there to another site. So it's probably more cost effective to continue this lease for another year. Use it for pole storage for projects, capital projects that are in progress.
Any questions for Mr. McCall? If not, let's go more raise your hand. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. City Council will now take item 321. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City of Lubbock authorize the use of power of eminent domain to acquire an electric utility easement encumbering 0.1074 acres of real property owned by CFIG Investments, LLC, being a portion of Lot 3, Clovis Road addition to the City of Lubbock, Lubbock County, Texas, according to the map, plat, and/or dedication deed thereof, recorded in volume 1047, page 548, deed records of Lubbock County, Texas, also from a portion of that 1.02 acre tract described in the county clerk file number 201-704-1500, official property records of Lubbock County, located approximately 280 feet southeast of Erskine Street, more particularly described in Exhibit A to the resolution now under consideration and on the overhead screen now being displayed to the audience for public use of constructing and operating the Northwest to McKenzie transmission and distribution lines and related appurtenances. Thank you. In the City of Lubbock, Texas.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Griffith. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Joy. Council, is there any discussion around the motion on item 321? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same sign? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, let's now move to item 322. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I move that the City of Lubbock authorize the use of power of eminent domain to acquire an electric utility easement encumbering 0.2474 acres of real property owned by Chan Benthorn, being a portion of Lot 9-10 Clovis Road addition to the City of Lubbock, Lubbock County, Texas, according to the map, plat, and/or dedication deed thereof recorded in volume 1500, page 605, deed records of Lubbock County, Texas, and located approximately the northwest corner of Clovis Road from North Nashville Avenue, and as more particularly described in Exhibit A to the resolution now under consideration and on the overhead screen being now displayed to the audience for public use of constructing and operating the Northwest to McKenzie transmission and distribution lines and related appurtenances in the City of Lubbock, Texas.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. We have a motion and a second on item 322. Council, is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve item 322, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same sign? Motion carries 7-0. Let's now move to item 323. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City of Lubbock authorize the use of power of eminent domain to acquire electric utility easement encumbering 0.0972 acres of real property owned by Maria Mattel, being a portion of Lot 11, Clovis Road addition to the city of Lubbock, Lubbock County, Texas, according to map, plat, and/or dedication deed thereof recorded in volume 1500, page 605, deed records of Lubbock County, Texas, and located approximately northwest quadrant of Clovis Road and North Nashville Avenue, and as more particularly described in Exhibit A to the resolution now under consideration and on the overhead screen being displayed to the audience. For the public use of constructing and operating northwest to McKenzie transmission distribution lines and related appurtenances in the city of Lubbock, Texas.
Thank you for that motion, Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson Harris. Council, is there further discussion on item 3.2.3? All those in favor of the motion to approve item 3.2.3, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same token? Motion carries 7-0. We'll now move to item 3.2.4. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the city of Lubbock authorize the use of power of eminent domain to acquire an electric utility easement encumbering 0.2923 acres of real property owned by Cyril and Sandra Reisner, being a portion of lots 12, 13, and 14, Clovis Road addition to the city of Lubbock, Lubbock County, Texas, according to the map, plat, and/or dedication deed thereof recorded in volume 1500, page 605, deed records of Lubbock County, Texas, and located approximately the southwest side of Clovis Road, approximately 450 feet southeast of Ursuline Street, and more particularly described in Exhibit A to the resolution now under consideration and on the overhead screen now being displayed to the audience for the public use of constructing and operating the northwest and McKenzie transmission and distribution lines and related appurtenances in the city of Lubbock, Texas.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Is that you, Ms. Joy?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. Council, is there discussion on Mr. Griffith's motion on item 3.2.4? All those in favor of the motion, item 3.2.4, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same sign? Motion carries 7-0. Let's now move to consideration of item 3.2.5. This begins on page 39 in your special city council agenda book. In order to begin consideration, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Council, is there any discussion around item 3.2.5?
Yes.
Mr. Childs.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want, just to clarify, this is the one we're talking for $125,336, am I correct?
That is correct, 40 cents.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
I think it's $125,000 overrated, personally. I can't support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Other questions or comments? I can't see you guys, so speak up if you got something. It's hard to explain. Mr. Christian, is that okay? Anything else? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve. All those in favor of the motion on item 3.2.5, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same sign?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1. Council will now move to item 3.2.6. This begins on page 49 in your special city council agenda for your special city council meeting. In order to begin discussion of item 3.2.6, is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. Council, is there any discussion on item 3.2.6? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve item 3.2.6, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by that same sign? Motion Motion carries 7-0. Okay, council, thank you very much. I believe that takes care of the business that we need to transact right now. Mr. Chairman?
All right. So, I guess we are headed back into executive session. We hit on item 6, 7 prior. I don't believe, Natalie, we have anyone signed up for public comments. Okay. That'll bring us to item 9, presentation and discussion by the Director of Electric Utilities. Mr. McCall, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll come up here and try to talk loud, or you can hear me. I just have a few highlights in the agenda. I don't have any slides. Get it out of the way. Okay, so on page 68, you can see some of the top performing content. Matt has done a good job of getting our social media stuff active, and every month we have new folks that sign up for that. So it's a good opportunity, and it's a cheap opportunity to put media out there that people look at, especially some of the younger generation. On page 70, you can see some of the stories that were news stories that came out. One of them was on the Mylar balloons. I was glad they ran a story on that because we have outages every single week, it seems like, related to the Mylar balloons. And they look harmless. People like them. They're colorful. But what happens is they generally tie 2 or 3 of them together. When they get loose, they fly and they get stuck in the power lines. They flop around until they are conductive. Mylar balloons are conductive, and so they will short out the line and cause power outages. So every single week we have outages related to Mylar balloons, including yesterday. We had pull some balloons out of the power lines. So glad to see that story. On page 75. Center of the page, the third chart on the right-hand column, System Average Interruption Duration Index. That's our outage tracker. You can see we're up for the year, but we've had a really stormy spring with the wind and all the other events. Yesterday was a pretty good event for us as well. We had outages starting at about 3 o'clock in the storms that were hitting all around us. We caught just the edge of one of the storms that was moving up, so we were really fortunate that it didn't catch more of it. But kind of the eastern side of our city got hit pretty hard, and we had probably 20 outages during that period. Some of them were pretty significant. We had one feeder outage that took a while to sort out. We had 4 poles that fell and had to be replaced, and so we had 60-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts during that 15-minute period as the storm was moving through town. So it was strong enough winds that it took out a few poles. And Blair had to report at the EOC yesterday at 3 a.m. That was when the first session of the EOC started. And those morning storms didn't pan out too much. And then I reported for the afternoon session, and that's when, at 3 o'clock we had the action that started, and we worked outages till after 11, after that 3 o'clock event. So, and then Chris Sims came in and relieved me at 7, so I could go home and rest up for the board meeting. On page 77, some of the highlights from the customer service recap. We didn't hit our key performance indicators this month, but primarily because the IVR callback queue was not working. Now we're in the process of getting a new IVR, and I'm not sure what the schedule is for getting that in. Amy, do you know?
That's for the new Citizens Tower.
So when we get in the new Citizens Tower, we'll have a new IVR that will hopefully be more reliable. This is a pretty old unit that we've got down. It's occasionally causes trouble for us. And then we did add another 167 customers to paperless billing, so we continue to, customer service group continues to encourage folks to go paperless. That results in the cost savings that we can pass on to all of our customers. Skip some of the customer reports that Andy will do here in a minute. Go to the commercial construction report on page 83. We had a number of completions over the month. And then I wanted to highlight one on page 86. We didn't have a lot of new ones this month. A few at the bottom there, new commercial construction projects, but the one at the very top of page 86, Pico Industries, we had a meeting with them last week, I guess it was. We had a big meeting with their engineers and the folks from Pico and several of our folks to talk about what they're doing. That's a really big undertaking that they're working on there to completely renovate their delinting facility, which is their largest single load. They're one of our largest customers if you look at their combined meters. And so this project will basically replace a lot of motors and electrical equipment that they feel like has reached the end of its useful life. And of course, the equipment that we're using to serve them is also near the end of its useful life. So it's really a enhancement in efficiency and reliability upgrade for them. So it's a $40 million plus project for them. And
Will that affect the substation?
No, we were worried initially thinking that there was going to be a huge amount of new load. It looks like they're offsetting the new load with some of the old load that's basically going away. I suspect there will be a little bit of new load, but it's not going to be significant where we'll have to upgrade the substation.
How much of their power do they generate with those turbines?
Each of those turbines is a 1 megawatt turbine. They've got 10 of them, but of course wind turbines only produce when the wind is blowing, so their capacity factor, I don't know what the capacity factor is on those units. I suspect it's 20 or 30%, something like
They're
that.
on a net metering contract?
Yes. Well, they're on a contract that predates our net metering contract. So. But they basically self-generate to serve part of their load.
They never generate all they need, I suppose.
No, they do not. They never send power back to the grid.
It's a significant upgrade that they're doing.
It
It's
is.
something that, they're not doing a lot of press around it or beating their chest, but we're excited from a council standpoint, because if you followed our discussion throughout our comprehensive plan and the update of that, one of the concerns was air quality, particularly in East Lubbock, where many of our manufacturing facilities have been since they were built. In fact, some of our neighborhoods grew up around those, like it or not, just the fact that one of our largest and best corporate citizens in East Lubbock is making this upgrade. And it's good for the neighborhood. It's really good for them, too. Robert Lacey's quite excited about it. And in fact, they don't even like to give tours of this part of their facility because it's so messy, just because of the business they're in. And it'll be a completely different animal when they're finished with it.
So, because of the money that we'll have to spend out there, one of the agenda items that you'll be considering today is to do a budget amendment to add to our budget for the transformers. We'll be buying 8 pad mount transformers, which will cause us to exceed our budget, and so we're moving some money around to make that possible. So we'll talk about that more here in a minute. Okay, so that's it for the report. I wanted to jump to page 87, and before we get into the capital report, I didn't provide slides and pictures like I have been doing because we're going to have a special report here today. But I wanted to introduce the folks from Principal Engineering that are with us here today. Jason, I believe, will be giving the report. Jason Avant has been with us for a few months now. He's really been active in trying to get us a hard and fast schedule that all of our folks, the engineers, everybody can live with, that's kind of rock solid and gets us to the finish line on time and on budget. So he's worked a lot on schedule. He's also worked some on the financial piece of the puzzle, which is also important. Probably still a little work yet to do on the financial piece to get all what has been absolutely maddening over the last year or so is that we've got a set of numbers in engineering, we've got a set of numbers in accounting, and so getting those numbers to match and be consistently matching is a challenge, and so that's one of the things that the principal will be working on, trying to refine those numbers and get us some usable, really solid forecasts for the financials going forward as well, to help Andy with the cash flow and having the money available when we need it. So let me introduce Jason first, because he'll be our speaker today. He graduated from West Texas A&M with a general business degree. Started and ran several companies in the Panhandle, and then switched gears and started working for Sherryland. Was Worked for them for 4 years as a project manager. I think he's been integrally involved in some of the major transmission projects that Sharyland did over the last few years, including transmission lines and substations at 345, 138, and lower voltage as well. So he's led process improvement efforts to create better communications and more efficient procedures, project management, procurement, etc. So he's already held 2 all-day meetings with all of the folks in the room to talk about the schedule. If you go downstairs to the old blue room, you'll see a schedule on the wall there. It's a primitive way to do it, but it really works well in terms of getting everybody's thoughts on the sequencing of the projects and conflicts that you might have with the outage schedules and things like that. So, and then switch and talk about Troy. Troy, this is Troy's first day on the job. He was with Sharyland until last Thursday when the deal concluded. Troy is a Texas native, graduated United States Military Academy at West Point. So he's a West Point grad with a systems engineering degree. Spent 6 years in the U.S. Army as an infantry officer, including 1 deployment to Iraq. Graduated from Cox's School of Business with an MBA in Finance and Operations. And he's been with Sharyland for 8 years, participating and overseeing all aspects of transmission line and substation projects. We've had for quite some time now, since we've been working on this project with Sharyland, we've had weekly calls. Troy has managed those calls. He's been the go-to guy for any issues or concerns that we have. And what I've observed from working with Troy over the years, over the last year, is that he's really detail-focused. He's really once you make a commitment, you stick to it, and he holds people's feet to the fire. And so I think he'll really be a good addition to our team to try to bring this project in, not only for our own internal capital program, but to help us keep the Encore project, which we're not directly doing, but we do have a role to play in that project, keep that project on track as well, at least from our perspective. So with that introduction, I will turn it over to Mr. Avent.
Let me ask you, Jim, this question. Maybe it's time to do it. On our schedule, are we still on or about July 1st of 2021 to flip the switch?
June 1st, 2021 is our target date.
Right.
We do have a schedule that...
Does our schedule have all this stuff internal to the city done before or after?
has to be done before.
Right.
Now, there are some projects that we've pushed out past that date, but they're not necessary for the voltage conversion or to integrate ERCOT. There are still projects that will need to be done at some point.
When the switches start flipping, will it be on a substation? How will that happen? How long will the power be on?
We will switch it. We'll actually have two switching operations. One to convert our transmission grid from 69 to 115. That will happen probably in early 2021, and it'll take several months to get that done. When we do that voltage conversion, we'll have to do some testing on all the substations. It's not as simple as flipping the switch, because we're having to change taps on transformers, change PT ratios, and everything that you've got to get your relay settings adjusted. So it'll be quite a bit of work to do as part of that voltage conversion. It will actually take longer than the connection to ERCOT. The ERCOT connection will be probably several smaller areas of town, not the whole. We won't be able to do the whole city at one time. We'll switch small sections of town, and we'll have to get this migration plan approved by ERCOT. So there's still quite a bit of work to do to develop that plan and get all the
Must someone else be invited to the ribbon cutting?
Absolutely.
Don and I will be in a wheelchair.
They'll have to.
Yeah. How long, if everything goes according to plan, how long will the power be off in my home, for example?
Yeah. The power will be off relatively short amounts of time, probably say less than an hour. So and this is for the ERCOT integration, so we'll have to disconnect load for the portion that we're switching from SDP, and then make the switches, do some checkouts, and then get the load back up, probably less than an hour. Now, Sharyland's been through this before, so if you want to ask Jason and Troy about when they switched part of the Sharyland load from SDP to ERCOT, they can give you some.
Yes, that will be recorded, what they say.
It'll be recorded, yeah. All right, Jason.
The floor is yours. right, thanks, David. So it's going to look a little different than what y'all are familiar to seeing or used to seeing with your presentation monthly. So we're integrating a little bit more and a little bit different types of information into kind of an overall schedule. I kind of want to throw the caveat out there that the schedule I'm going to walk through is not every active construction project through 2021. So there's going to be some key projects that are missing here. Over the next month to 2 months, you'll start seeing those pushed into this report. So your next EUB in June will have more than this one does. Just a few of those would be like the Holly to Slayton line, Holly to Southeast, Co-op, the Northeast sub, X-Fab, and Wadsworth, just to kind of give you an idea. A few other key things also, the voltage conversion that David mentioned is not shown here yet. So the slide that you see in front of you, you'd see one similar to this when we do have that overall schedule, more defined and agreed to by both engineering and construction. And then the Encore 145, 345 work, we'll have the same kind of schedule, high-level image for y'all next couple of months as well. So what you have in front of you is the 115 overall program. We have, I want to say there's 13 active projects rolled up into this, kind of a high-level executive summary report. It's meant to be at a high level, so the schedule is going to be a little counterintuitive. So it is going to be through, we're looking at Q3 of 2018, so in the past all the way through 2020, not quite broken down. As we go through the next set of slides, like I said, there are 13, it'll break down each individual project that rolls up into this program. So just kind of want to give you a high-level view. We've identified a few of the risks my team has on some of the things that we see with Lubbock LPNL right now with the set of projects. As we mentioned, the creation of the overall voltage conversion schedule, we see that as priority number one for us as we better define the remaining construction projects, just to ensure that we're going to get done or be able to start, say, October of 2020 so we can meet the ERCOT requirement dates for your cutover. So at a high level, that's the leading page. We're going to go in order of projects based on construction. So the first one we're going to have is McDonald Substation, for your first slide. Some high-level things here. The overall substation construction is complete. They are still working on some distribution feeders, but the overall upgrade to the substation is done. And they are currently prepping for the mobile removal. Next page is going to be Chalker to Oliver T-line. Same thing with this one. Construction is complete. Plaska is doing a few punch list items, but overall substantial completion has been completed on that T-line. And we're showing Plaska on the 24th of this week should be demobilized from site with all punch lists completed. Anytime if you have more questions, want to look a little bit more in depth, just stop me. I'm going to keep walking through to maintain your time.
And by the way, if you have any questions about the format of these slides as well, we're happy to make changes. This is the first draft. We actually went through a number of different drafts. We tried to pattern it after what the reports that y'all were used to looking at on the CIS and the AMI projects. But if you'd prefer to see it in a different format, we can do that as well.
Just one question. What all is involved in closeout? That's just double checking everything, or any physical things, or is it more paperwork, or in closeout, like on this Chalker to Oliver?
Yeah, so traditionally it's going to be the overall QA/QC package, or the quality control. So in the construction of the T-line, we're going to have to get the as-builts from the engineers. So the stamped as-built of what was actually built in the field. Have time to actually close out finances because your trailing invoices from your customers, not your customers, your vendors are going to come in the last 30 to 45 days. So it just gives adequate time to completely close out that sale.
So is it mostly a paperwork
Yes, ma'am.
issue? There's not, your construction is basically done. So closeout implies paperwork, invoices, checking all the boxes.
The contractor has a number of deliverables that they have provided at the conclusion of the project. One of them is wire sag details, fiber optics testing, things like that. So it's really just providing all the information that they need to provide and that the engineers need to provide to show that project finalized.
One more thing, since David did point out the format, a few things to call your attention to. So on the very top, you're going to see a financial reporting date. So you're going to have actuals through March. And the actual schedule and status is as of 5/16, so as of this month. So your risks or your status updates to the bottom, as well as the schedule, is as live as of last week. So we're trying to give you as much information as we can, even though the finances are from March actuals.
And unfortunately, we're trying to pull
information from the financial system, so there's about a month of lag before we get you see the same thing in board packet. There's always a lag time before we can produce the financial reports.
Is there a way to describe or put on here, I get the dollar amount, 34% remaining or 35% remaining from the overall each job portion, but where, we're 10% complete on overall construction, or where that shows that actual percentage. So when you get to June 1st, 2021, you should be right at 99.9% complete with lines and everything like that.
So
rather than not from a dollar standpoint, but actual work.
No, completely agree. What we've done is, so we've kind of had to rebuild the schedules. So these are, over the last 2 months, what we've come up with. We fully intend to baseline projects, so we'll have multiple milestones where we'll actually baseline and then show percentage completions against that. So we wanted to make sure we showed very relevant, right information, and we could have shown percentage completion, but we didn't have the comfort in those, the accuracy of that.
Right.
So, we fully intend to do that moving forward. Next project, 92405, is Chalker to Thompson. Chalker to Thompson, obviously construction and potholing began back in July of 2018. However, with some of the underground utility obstructions that were identified, that project has had to kind of hit a pause. Rebid is currently scheduled with the start of construction in February of 2020. So that is one of them that is pushed out. And currently there is hydrobacking going on as we speak to identify the subsurface or sub-utility obstructions. Next project is going to be a combination of two, but on one SIP ID. So it's the overall Slayton substation and its tie-in. So obviously we have to cut in the existing T-lines into the new substation. So the overall substation, we're looking to be completed in mid-June of this year, so middle of next month. The transmission tie-in, the RFP is currently out for bid with a due date of 24th of this month of May, and we'll be looking to have a June EUB meeting for the approval of that contract. (92476), which is Red Raider Sub. The station is nearing completion currently. One risk has been identified with the RTU, or the remote terminal device. Shouldn't impact the overall in-service date of that substation. Just something we wanted to call out for you. The TAP associated with that substation, so the interconnect the T-lines, is currently scheduled to start at the completion of the Red Raider substation, so you'll kind of see those two working sequentially. The RFP is out for bid right now with the return date of the 23rd, again targeting a June EUB meeting for award with the T-line construction start mid-July. Next will be the McKenzie substation. Wanted to call out, so we actually have two phases to this project. It's a multi-phase. We're showing it as one project here. If we'd like to break that up in the future, a lot of these things we can do real easily. So construction pre-con for phase one is going to happen on the 29th, so next week, so May 29th, with current start of construction on June 5th. Phase two of the project will be starting just after the first few years, so January 3rd of 2020, and going through June 22nd of 2020. Again, I call that out because you're going to see the overall construction duration for the entire time, even though it's kind of split in the middle. Thompson to Vicksburg T-line. The RFP is with purchasing, and we're looking for a July EUB award date. Construction currently is slated for August of this year.
Would you go back to the McKenzie substation?
Yes, sir.
Real quickly. I just want to make sure I have my perception correct here. So, on the overall budget, $5.7 million, when we say open expenditures, that's not been earmarked. In other words, that's
Those are encumbered amounts.
unencumbered.
They are encumbered.
They are encumbered. Okay. So the received amount is what's actually been expended? And the overall balance is what's left of the total? Okay. So we've encumbered 51.65% of the budgeted original budget.
You have 51% remaining of
I mean,
of the
I'm
budget.
sorry. I'll get that right. That's the remaining amount to be budgeted. Okay.
That's the encumbered plus the expenses that have already, expenditures that have already been incurred.
Okay.
Those together are 51. Well, or 40.
49. Yes. See, you're doing the same thing.
Backwards.
So on your timeline then, there's not been any construction yet on the project? Not been any physical construction? Okay. So when we look at the cumulative forecast, your dollar numbers, that just reflects the 292 that's been
Correct.
actually expended,
Yes.
not encumbered, right?
Well, technically, it would be both. It would be your actuals, and that would be inclusive of the open encumbrances.
Well, I'm looking at the bubble chart down there on the right, cumulative actuals.
Okay, just actuals.
So that's the 292.
Yes, sir. And one more thing.
Just eyeballing that.
Yes, sir. And one more thing to call out. So on the forecast, the forecasted amount is not always going to match your open encumbrances, but it should be below the budgeted amount. So we are forecasting to spend just under $5 million on this project.
Yeah.
However, we have not issued POs for all of those monies yet
Okay. So,
Got some contingency on the budget.
as well.
so your monthly forecast, how did we come up? That's expenditures, not percentage completion. That's not actual construction. That's just expenditure.
Yeah, so the construction engineering team have put together the cash flow forecast for the project of what they anticipate to spend each month.
Okay.
And that's what your cumulative forecast is showing, as well as to the left, your forecasted monthly forecast.
Okay.
Because once we pull all that together, then I can use that information to estimate cash flow with our note program.
Well,
As I said early on, there needs to be some refinement in some of these forecasts.
Well,
We're going to be working on that over the next few months.
this is really good. I just want to make sure I understand that my perception is reality. So,
Mr. Paul?
Coming out here, under open expenditures, then, are you really talking about equipment that may have been ordered but not paid for?
Correct.
yeah.
Is that what it's
Right.
Or at least purchase orders that have been cut.
It'll be contract awarded or POs have been issued.
PO's approved.
Right. It's committed but not out the door
Yes, sir.
yet.
This may be a dumb question, but how do we keep track, or how do we know that we are paying for what we're receiving? I mean, Butch might be able to help me here. I was in the construction industry, and I know people have a tendency to the soft parts like design and engineering kind of load those things up so you can get some front end load. Are there any issues like that with contracts of this nature that we're overpaying for stuff we're not, getting ahead of the curve on completion?
In my opinion, no. Obviously, it's kind of Felix's wheelhouse. However, the majority of your material contracts are actually PO line items of one. So, in all honesty, you receive the majority of your material before you ever pay for anything. So, like substation.
Those are easy to track.
Yes. Yeah. And with your engineering, you're going to pay based on time. So if the engineers put in 5 hours, you're going to pay 5 hours. So it's accumulative over the life of the project. Not sure where I left off on Thompson to Vicksburg, so we'll hit it shortly again. RFP for the overall construction contract was issued by purchasing, I guess, on 5/7, targeting a July board meeting for the award of that contract. Currently, construction is slated for August of 2019 to start. Next will be Vicksburg, as well, targeting a June EUB meeting. Started construction right now for July 5th. Just wanted to call out, I didn't have it on the risk tracker. We'll have it on there next time. This is kind of a critical station in regards to outages. There's quite a few outages that are going to be affected or that Vicksburg is going to impact. So this is kind of a critical, not saying the other projects aren't critical, but outage-wise, Vicksburg is a critical station for LP&L to get through to be able to go on to the next set of projects. 92470 is Oliver Substation. Again, there's going to be a lot on your agenda next month. Again, a June EUB meeting for construction starting around September 5th of 2019. Northwest of McKenzie. I think I heard y'all talking some right-of-way earlier on condemnation proceedings. So obviously there is no active construction going on with this project yet. It's been pushed. I think we're currently slated for construction to start first week of October of 2019. Boots on the ground. So we will have potholing ahead of that. So more on the right-of-way portion. We're going to be changing the schedule a little bit to show more on the right-of-way side, to show the overall acquisition process that Richard team is leading, as well as some of the front-end boots on the ground with some of the engineering support. So they have to do some hydrovac excavation, some different things to help more on engineering, but we're not considering that construction started yet. So what you're seeing here on your graph, construction started, will actually be contractors, boots on the ground, installing poles, setting foundations, more physical work. It's just kind of a heads up there.
That's what created some delays on the chalker transmission lines as we had engineer drawings showing where the poles were to be set, and then we started going out and doing the underground utility locations and found we had gas lines, communications lines, and all that had to be dealt with before we proceeded forward, and they created some delays that were costly delays. So we're trying to avoid that by planning ahead.
That's a few things we're going to be changing the schedule is better tracking those encumbrances on the front side to make sure construction won't be impacted nearly as much. Erskine and McKenzie is going to be kind of on the tail end of northwest of McKenzie. So it's kind of a small portion of, it's a separate project, but they kind of tie together at a double circuit point. So this will be done kind of in parallel at the end of the northwest of McKenzie line. So you'll see it's slated for February of 2020 with an overall completion date in parallel with northwest of McKenzie. Holly Substation, we're looking at a board approval in September, start of construction October 15th. I have one more slide for you. Southeast Oliver. Overall engineering, we're proceeding as scheduled. EUB meeting targeting right now January of 2020. Construction slated to begin February of 2020. So this project's kind of one of the furthest ones out there. And as I said when I first started, you're going to see quite a few more projects within the schedule. Next time up, again, the T-lines at Holly and a few of the others. Just kind of wanted to give all the schedules we had to date in front of you. If you don't have any questions, that's all I have.
Thanks, sir.
Unless there's any other questions on the director's report.
Okay. Take us to Andy.
Yes. My discussion is going to be on the purchase power recovery factor. If you recall, the tariff that's in place today requires us to reset the pass-through rate every October 1 and June 1. And so since we're less than a couple of weeks away from June the 1st, I wanted to visit about what we have or we are recommending for that rate going forward. First of all, the purchase power recovery factor is a rate that is designed to recover all of the costs for purchase power that we buy from Southwestern Public Service. That's how that works. So our current revenues from our customers for that portion of their bill equals over time the purchase power cost that we're buying from Southwestern Public Service. Third bullet, we have implemented rate stabilization back in 2013, which basically took the volatility of purchase power costs away from the customer and put that on LP&L. So historically, rates jumped up and down on a monthly basis for our customers. We changed that back in 2013 where they were mostly stable through seasons. So we have a non-summer and a summer season today. So that's part of this whole process, too, on our purchase power recovery. There are significant changes to purchase power for beginning on June 1st, and I wanted to go over those briefly. Back from 2013, when we implemented the PPRF rate, at that point in time, we had broken our rate into two main sections, one being a rate that covers LP&L's operations, the other larger portion of the rate covering purchase power. So to date, the invoice that we get from Southwestern Public Service is the amount that we pass through to our customers in that portion of the rate. Beginning on June the 1st, purchase power now will be coming from three sources. We have a 170 megawatt and a 400 megawatt contracts with SPS. We also have the Elk City wind contract that will initiate. In addition to those three purchase power contracts, we will also be generating our own power internally through the three generating units spread across the city. So that is a pretty substantial change to our pass-through model that we use to forecast rates. We're also going to be renaming the pass-through from a purchase power recovery factor to a power cost recovery factor. So from now on, we'll be referring to that as the PCRF rather than the PPRF. Part of our model incorporates a number of assumptions, and of course, entering into all these new contracts, we've done a lot of work to anticipate what our costs will be over the summer and actually into the non-summer months. So really the next 12 months we've been forecasting, but we're really talking right now what rates will look like in the summer months, June, July, August, and September. We've estimated in that model our purchase power costs from the three new contracts that I just mentioned. We've also estimated our fuel costs and our operations and maintenance costs, which are already in our budget for our production department. So that all is part of the model. We're also anticipating what natural gas costs will be. As we've talked about over the last several months, there's been a very large disconnect between NYMEX gas prices and Waha. So we are seeing Waha natural gas, some points are negative, usually near zero, around up to $1. It's very volatile, but at very low levels. So that has had a definite impact on our costs related to purchase power, as most of that is related to natural gas. What we saw in the 17-18 fiscal year was about $1.95 per MMBTU for natural gas. We're estimating it a little bit less than that at $1.86. We believe we'll be well below that for the near term. We believe that will rise as we go through the calendar year. There's a significant pipeline that is going to be completed around the November time frame that will relieve a lot of the congestion locally. So we would expect natural gas prices locally to start to move upward. Another thing that we've had to estimate in our model is the true-up that we receive on every June from SPS. That is always an unknown until we get the information from them in that month. Historically, it's ranged from zero all the way to $4.5 million. And so our 4-year average of that true-up has been about $2.5 million. So that is what we've included in our model for now. So depending on how that comes in, we'll either have an over-recovery or an under-recovery related to that true-up. So there's this, among a lot of other things that go into that model, but these are some of the drivers as we've changed the model going forward. So back to a customer level perspective, this pie chart illustrates the cost that a average LP&L customer that uses 1,000 kilowatt hours a month would pay. The small light blue piece of that pie is $8.07. That is for what we call the service availability charge. That is a flat rate. So if they use zero energy, they would still pay $8.07. That covers our customer service, our billing, and payment processing. The larger blue portion is the energy charge. That's the part of the bill that I talked about a moment ago that covers LP&L's operations, our salaries and benefits, our debt service, all of the infrastructure to deliver energy to your home or business. So that's about $33.81 for a customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours. And then the largest piece is that purchase power, what we're talking about today, the pass-through of what we're purchasing from SPS today, and then what we'll be purchasing and producing going forward. 1,000 kilowatt hour customer would pay about $69 on a monthly basis for that. Our proposal is to reduce that by about 0.8 cents going into the summer months, so that $69.39 would become $61.77, about a $7.62 reduction. In this chart there, you can see our current rate just for that purchase power piece is 6.939 cents per kilowatt hour, reducing to 6.177 cents. So that's where you come up to that $7.62 reduction on a monthly basis. Again, that's for the customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours. That's about 11% savings on that portion of the rate that they've been paying. Now, if you apply that to the total amount that customers paying, it's about a 6.8% reduction for the summer months, assuming using the same level of consumption. Over the last 24 months, we've actually had 3 rate reductions, and so under the current, through the end of May, a customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours would pay $111.27. That's before tax and fees. In our proposed reduction, they would be paying $103, like I said before. So you can see our fourth reduction. And really, this latest reduction is the first time that we've been able to pass through savings due to the new contracts that we negotiated. A lot of this reduction does have to do with lower natural gas prices, but we are already seeing savings in especially that 400 megawatt contract that we negotiated March of last year. That's now just initiating, so we're beginning to start passing some of those savings along to our customers. We always kind of show you a comparison of where we are compared to where other utilities are. I show a forecast of where we'll be beginning at 103 starting in June for that 1,000 kilowatt hour customer. You can see where SPS is currently. That's only through March, but customers, SPS, are paying $104 through that time frame. We don't have their rates now, but if you'll notice in the summer months, typically SPS does go up in their rates. We've eliminated that differential between winter and summer cost spikes, but historically we have seen that occur with SPS. So I would anticipate that costs that customers in Amarillo are paying will be greater than what customers at LP&L and Lubbock will be paying starting in June. If you look at the state average, a little bit greater than SPS, still below where we are currently, but it would anticipate us being in line with the state average with this new rate in place. So just wanted to give you an update. Again, I've been giving illustrations on that rate 1 customer, which is by far the largest number of customers we have. This will affect all rate classes with LP&L, but all rate classes will see a savings beginning in the summer on their rates. Now remember, consumption goes up dramatically in the summer, so even though our rates are coming down, people will still see probably larger bills in the summer just because typically consumption, at least for residential, almost doubles from what we see on average in the winter months. So the rate, though, per unit will be down about 11% on that pass-through, but more than likely customers will still see higher bills this summer. But if you compare it to last summer, they will be down, I think, down about 8. Let's see, I have that in front of me. $8.98 will be the difference in the rate 1 customer from that last summer to this summer. And for rate 3, which is our customers that have our total all-electric customers, they will see about a $30 decrease from this time last year, summer to summer comparison. So hopefully our customers will really be happy with this change and see some real relief this summer, especially compared to last summer. So, any questions?
No questions. Just like to compliment you guys in getting that down and get that support time down the past 24 months, and that new contract went into effect that you guys got us doing everything else. So kudos to you all and the ratepayers. Good for you all.
Thank you. We're very excited.
Thank you all.
The second half of the financial presentation, I'm going to hand over to Ranu Manik. I've introduced y'all to Ranu, but she hasn't been lucky enough to give a presentation for the board. She's really been the mastermind behind the financials for almost the past year. Chad, began about a year ago transitioning the monthly finance accounting work to Ranu, and she's really been doing it for the last year. Chad just to continue doing the presentation. So
I just got lucky. I tricked him into doing my work.
That's right. So I'll now turn it over to Ranu.
All right.
Amy, would you text her some questions that she might be able to?
I told her, I said, hopefully, everybody will be a little bit tired by the time you get up there, and they'll feel like.
So I'm counting on that, okay? And besides Chad not being here, nothing else exciting happened in the past month. So I'll take you on a quick summary of what is happening. We kept everything consistent. So as you would see here, our operating revenues are down about $4.5 million. That is largely due to our PPRF rate reset in past October in anticipation of the lower PPRF cost. But on the good news, we also have about $6.4 million decrease in our expenses. Now you would see a large decrease in our supply maintenance and other. That is largely due to our other professional services, legal, engineering, us outsourcing Kubra. That brought our expenses down by $2 million. And a small increase in that decrease was offset by $200,000 increase in our supply and maintenance. So we're doing pretty good over there. As we all talked about, purchase and fuel and power with our continuous enjoyment of lower gas prices and the natural gas prices, we are going to have a decrease, which is clearly affected in $4.2 million here. Our total operating income, as I mentioned, is down by expenses are down 6.4, which is always good. We have slight decrease in our transfers as well. That is because 2017 and 18 being the catch-up year for our debt related to Citizens Tower. Moving forward, our balance sheet is looking pretty good. We have increase in our operating cash, largely due to increase in our operating income, our increase in deferred revenues, and lower receivables. Our lower receivables are part of our seasonality, but our days in receivables are around 42 days, which is not so bad compared to our 37 average that was last year. Now that increase in cash is primarily offset by our CapEx spending and our debt payments and all the good things we're building with all gentlemen over there. The largest increase you would see is in our capital assets right here. We have about $8 million increase in expenses. All of that you can see in our construction in progress category of our capital expenses, our capital assets. Moving on to our liability, we're also doing very well. We have decrease of $5.1 million in our accounts payable line item right here. Now, largely that decrease is due to our year-end invoices and the payments that we made in our operating and management expenses, and about $343,000 less expense on our WTMPA invoice. Our deferred revenues continue to go up. Clearly, that is also due to our natural gas prices that we are seeing right now. And comparatively, our deposit continues to go up. That is due to a change in our tariff, in which we mirror the commercial customers to our residential customer. So we'll continue to see increase in our customer deposits time over time. The other decreased by $2.6 million. That is also largely due to year-end accruals being unwinded over the period of time. And one of the biggest accrual that unwinded was for TTU's credit. That was approximately $1.8 million. And remaining of $816,000 belongs to our payroll expenses that unwinded as we move forward in the year. We have decrease in our bonds payable. That is due to our payments made in February. So we're doing good over there. Now, when we compare everything to our budget, everything looks pretty good, but you will see our consumer meter revenue is down about 5.5% when we compare it to the prior fiscal year to date. That is largely due to also our PPRF rates that we had set in the prior year versus what we have going on this year. On the other hand, all our other revenues are looking really, really good, and that is due to our outside work orders increased by around $400,000, and our power marketing revenues are up around $700,000. Same story, yeah. Very lucky with our natural gas prices this year. All the expenses, as you would notice, they're tracking along pretty well with the budget. One of the largest dip is in the transmissions, and that is just due to lower supervising and engineering costs. We're at halt right now, which we think is going to continue to look good. We also have a dip in a fund level expenses. Now, those are also due to the debt payments that we were making in 2017 and 18 for Citizens Tower. Also, we have a higher interest earning for our capital projects for current year. So we're doing good. I have this slide, but I suppose today we got a really, really good in-depth look at all the projects that we have going on in detail, which would help you more. But as I mentioned, there's an $8 million expense that we incurred in last month, which would clearly mean the construction in progress category of our balance sheet. We have a remaining fund of $173 million, 50 in cash, bond is 158. So everything's moving along as we would expect in CapEx spending. And that was pretty quick. So I'll answer any questions you have.
So on your CapEx recap that you just had, the $59 million expended through March of 2019, is that, what does that represent?
That would
That's
represent...
on all the open capital projects?
Yes. So these number up total would represent all the projects combined together. I have a detailed breakdown for you if you would like to see.
Well, it's probably in the...
Yeah, it's on page, 114 of your book. But, what Jason presented was, what, 13
Yeah.
projects, and this is all 72 projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot larger.
Right, so it's fair to say that of that $59 million, the $17 million on his deal is wrapped into that.
Yes,
Yes.
that is encompassed in all of that.
Yeah. That would account for.
So let me ask you about the statement of cash flows, just to kind of echo that. So that's page 105. So year to date, we've spent $29.3 on CapEx, and the $8 million that you talked about is there in March.
Correct.
And we took most of that money out of the investments of $20 million.
Absolutely.
$10 million this month, which is because we sold the bonds in the last fiscal year and put it in investments, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you mentioned something about the transfers being, so the net transfers is 6.4. That's less than it was last year because the Citizens Tower is less than it was last year.
We were paying 3 years worth of debt service last
That's
year,
right.
and this year we're just down to 1 month's worth. It was a makeup year last year.
And you mentioned something, Mr. Conrad and I were talking about on the balance sheet on the accrued liabilities. That $3.1 million decrease from year end includes the contract.
Go ahead. I think you might know the answer.
Contract, is that why that was down?
It's that from 3.6 million, where we are at 5.22 right now. There was large part of that was also all of our payrolls from year end being unwinded, because I think we were in the half cutoff where one of the payroll was being accrued for as of year end. And as we moved forward, clearly we paid it off and it reversed out. But 1.8 of that was the TTU's credit. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1.8 million of that.
You were in that, and I just didn't catch the number. So.
We'll blame it on my accent.
No, I'm just kidding.
And we did complete the TTU reimbursements, the credits this year. One was in October and the other was in January. About $900,000 each.
So by this statement, it's all
off your books. Yes.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys.
Y'all like her melodic voice?
All right, that brings us to item number 11. So I need to consider a motion for item 11 for the budget amendment.
Second.
A motion and a second. All right, we'll consider a budget amendment amending fiscal year 18-19 capital program to amend capital improvement project number 92485, substation breaker replacement transmission, CIP 92598, fiscal year 18-19 underground distribution.
Under David's report, I know he commented about the PICO installation, and so that's the majority of this budget amendment. There's also some new facility in the Lubbock Business Park and another apartment complex. These are 3 projects that were really unknown at the time when the budget was created over a year ago. So That is going to be an increase to the underground distribution project. We're moving those funds from another project called the substation breaker replacements project that are no longer needed. So it is a transfer between capital projects, and this will be approved by the board. We'll send it on to the city manager for his approval. This will not need to go to the city council as some of the amendments do that typically might be an overall increase to our budget. Since this is a transfer between projects, it just requires board and city manager approval.
All right. Questions there? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 12, consider resolution recommending the city council, the city of Lubbock take actions necessary to delete the city of Lubbock as a member public entity of the West Texas Municipal Power Agency. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve that resolution as stated.
Motion. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then, that brings us to the consent agenda. There's items 13 through 17. I would assume everyone here has had a chance to read over those, and would anyone like to pull any of those and discuss? If not, I'll consider a motion for consent agenda items 13 through 17 as written.